could be an umbrella that somehow includes relief organizations, as well as volunteer organizations, as well as the private sector. That all strikes me as very ambitious at this stage of the game. It seems to me like it would be smarter for Crisis Commons to basically leverage a couple of places where there's well-established capability. And the first is in sort of being organizers and advocates for those volunteer organizations and trying to figure out what they do well, what they can do, what they can't do. And then do a very particular form of matchmaking. And the form of matchmaking that I'm thinking is in many ways it's a consultancy model. It's going into these crisis response organizations, helping them talk about their information challenges, and helping them figure out which ones might be solvable with existing software, which of them might be solvable in cooperation with volunteer technology organizations, and which of them are really big systematic IT problems that need to get handled by a firm rather than a volunteer group. In introducing that model, I'm a little nervous because in some ways it was the model that we tried to use at GeekCorps. That wasn't ultimately what killed GeekCorps. What killed GeekCorps was the fact that it's really expensive to do that sort of consulting unless you're basically charging for it. And so what ended up happening at GeekCorps was that we had lots of volunteers, and they were willing to go overseas. But it was quite expensive to send them overseas, both because it was expensive to send people overseas, but even more than that, it was really expensive to do essentially the project management. So we had project managers who functionally went into the IT firms in developing nations to find really good projects, recruited the right volunteer, did the matchmaking, did the hand-holding, did the project management. And that got so expensive that eventually we needed to find support from someone willing to write $100,000 checks. The organization that we found to do it was USAID. To work with USAID requires much more robust accounting than a small organization would have. We had to merge our small organization with an organization that did work for USAID so we could do the accountancy. That organization ultimately swallowed our organization, destroyed everything the project was working on, and fired everybody. So I guess for me it was an interesting lesson in the problems of scale. When you get to the point where you've got enough people who can do that project management, who can work within those CROs in your case, you suddenly have to make decisions about funding it to allow them to keep working. And so essentially what I would be thinking is, to the extent that that consultancy model that I'm proposing makes sense, you got to find a way to build the CROs for it. You have to find a way that the Red Cross or UNICEF or whoever you're working with is compensating you for the time to help them figure out how to use the volunteers. If you don't do that, you end up in a situation where you can raise volunteer effort, but raising money to do the matchmaking of volunteering is a very unsexy thing and difficult thing to raise for. So to me, if you're providing a useful service to the CROs, you need to find a way to be able to charge the CROs. If you're not providing a useful service, then why are you doing this in the first place? So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.